Hi everyone, I'm Hannah with Felicity Designs. Let's talk smocked dresses. I see pictures and hear comments all the time from ladies who say that their smocked dresses are just a little bit too big. The smocking is already so forgiving in the bust and a waist that often the real problem is that the shoulders are too tall. This dress is not the greatest example because it already fits me quite well, but I am going to take up the shoulders a little bit because they're just a little too big, they fall off too easily, and they can sag down too easily, especially if I'm holding a baby. It breaks my heart when I see ladies who need to send back, return, or sell their dream dresses because they're just a little bit too big, but really the issue is all in the shoulders. In this quick tutorial today, I'm going to show you how to take up the shoulders of a smocked elastic sleeved dress. Come to the back of the dress, and you're going to start back here right about where the smocking meets the sleeve, and you'll want a seam ripper like this. You're going to carefully put your seam ripper through a stitch and pull it to break the thread. Now be very careful that you don't get any of this stitching here. This is a finished serged edge, and you don't want to rip that seam because that's going to keep your fabric from fraying. It's easier to see on this side. So let's find a few more threads consecutive with the one that you just broke here. Be very careful just to get the thread and not to get any of the loops of the fabric. Once you've got a few finished stitches out here, you'll be able to open it up enough to see the elastic in the casing. This is where I would suggest trying the dress on one more time. As you have the dress on, pull it to where you want it to be and put a safety pin in the loop so that you know exactly what amount of elastic you want to take up. Mind that elastic stretches, so you might be sewing a little bit more than you think, and the dress is still going to fit fine afterward. Always make sure you try it on though, because you don't want it to come up too far into your armpits. And repeat with the other side. Okay, here I've put the dress back on so I can see how much elastic I want taken up. This is about where I want to wear the dress, and I want the sleeves to be tight enough so that they don't just slide off my shoulders, but not so tight that they're going to pull up in the armpits too much. So the loop is in the back here. You see where it's kind of pinched and taken up. So you can pull on that with your fingers until you get it to the right amount that you want taken up here. And then you can adjust the pin. You can also just hold it with your fingers and easily slide the dress off. If you get one side where you want it to be, you can usually measure that side with a measuring tape or a ruler and make sure the other side is the exact same amount of elastic that you're taking up, and then you don't have to hold both sides while you're trying to take the dress off as well, or put a safety pin in it. If you have a friend to help you with this step, it'll go a lot faster, but you can do it on your own as well. Okay, here's the hand sewing method for how to fix your dress. Start by threading your needle and putting a knot at the end so you can anchor it into your work. Here you see the loop that we've made with our safety pin on it. So you're going to pinch it with your fingers to hold it tight, and you can remove the pin, keeping your thumbnail right where the pin was so you know exactly how long you want to make it. Insert your needle right in the very center of the elastic. Make sure you get both pieces of elastic, both sides. You're going to pull your needle through and do that maybe 5 or 6 times right in the middle, going to the sides and the middle so that you've got all of the elastic sewn, and then you'll trim it maybe 1/4 inch past where you sewed. Now you're going to take that little leftover selvage and you're going to stitch it down to the side of the elastic to make sure it doesn't add extra bulk to your shoulder seam. So here I am stitching it down to anchor that little extra bit of elastic where the selvage is, so that there's no bulk when you finish your work. Go ahead and tie a knot to anchor your work. Make sure you make several knots so that it won't come undone, and then trim it with just a little extra thread hanging off the end. Next, you're going to pull it tight so that the elastic slides back into its casing, and you can adjust all the gathers here. And then we're going to stitch down this little pocket so it stays in place. Get a new piece of thread, thread your needle, tie a knot at the end, and we're ready to keep going. Now when you sew this pocket down, you're going to pull the elastic and the shoulder tight so that the gathers are not there. It's nice and straight. Otherwise you'll sew the gathers down and you won't be able to use the elastic on the dress. It'll be stitched in place. You can use scissors to carefully snip the threads left from the original stitches. When the gap is completely closed, including extending over the original seam for a few stitches, tie a knot and cut your thread. Here it is, all finished. Use a measuring tape to make sure the second side will be sewn at the same place as the first side. Put a pin in place. Change your stitch to a basic zigzag. This will allow the elastic to still stretch. Snip the elastic, leaving about a 1/4 inch past where the pin is. Remove the pin, and now you will lay one end of elastic on top of the other, overlapping by about a 1/4 inch. Pin in place. Here's what it looks like pinned flat. Very carefully sew the elastics together. Use another large pin or needle to gently push the thick elastic through the foot, being very careful to not get near the machine needle. Sew forward and reverse a few times to hold in place. Change your machine stitch back to a straight stitch. Pull the shoulder to adjust the gathers. The elastic will slide back into its casing. Now pull the shoulder tight as you sew this hole back in place. If you don't pull the fabric all the way, it will be stitched in place and will not move with the elastic. Carefully sew the gap shut, extending over the original stitches by a 1/4 inch or so. Be very careful not to catch the elastic as you sew, just the fabric. Trim the threads and pull to even the gathers. Hopefully this will help some of you keep your dream dresses fitting you perfectly for years to come.